what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Laur reaction. Today we have Chemical Reaction as requested by Cat Straws and my executive producers. And that's about all I got going on for this one. I don't have any other context, no other special notes or anything, just a Laur song. So without further ado, let's go! Ooh. I love that we're starting here. There's already so much info. Oh! Oh! Hell yeah. You can't be throwing stuff like this at me. I'm gonna get way too into it. You going somewhere else? 4 on the floor. A classic. Ooh. Part of me wants to say this almost sounds familiar, but I did check. I always check to see if I've like heard a song before I do a video, and it didn't appear on my channel. So if I have heard this somewhere, I couldn't tell you. The scary part is how long it is. Like, where are we going? Love the cinematic choice. It's always a good choice.
Freak with me in the mix.
Freak with you. It's just flat and heavy right here. Yeah, we got some more bass in it. Like, I know I've heard stuff from this album before. Maybe that's why it sounds kind of familiar. But I know I haven't heard this one. Maybe multiple people kind of go for a similar thing in this album. Love this flute part, by the way. Beautiful writing. But you can't beat a fire beat, right? Here we are. Sitting down here on that low drone techno beat. I love not knowing what's coming next. Is it gonna repeat? Is it gonna move on? Keeps me on the edge. A little acid synth action going on in the background. Ooh, oh, oh. Ooh. That's a really, really interesting way to transition out. That's not the type of thing you hear too often. Laur kind of stealing the dead mouse sort of sound there at the end, which not a problem. It's just amazing how many different little sounds there were throughout this song. This song tells a story that I did not anticipate, and it's not the one you think. It's not like there's a big, huge narrative overarching throughout this song. It's how they get from point A to B to C to Z, etc. You know, like A to Z, how every single thing connects in here. And there is a fun adjustment that they make, to me at least, that makes this entire song that much more interesting. I heard it happen. I just wasn't positive if it actually shifted what was going on in the track, or if it was just my ears deceiving me, because that's kind of how it goes sometimes. You're hearing a lot of frequencies all at once, and it's not like I can intake all of that. I don't have perfect pitch. I don't hear one note and go, oh yeah, that's this frequency, that's all these notes. I don't have that ability. That shit's insane. So when I hear something and I notice a change, I need to actually like check, you know? I have to really listen to it and be like, okay, what's going on here? Why does it happen? And then I share that with all of you. So what's going on in this song? Why do I think that this one has such an interesting take? So gonna throw everything else out the window, honestly. The song is fun. The genre changes are fun. That's all fine and good, dandy, and it sounds fantastic. Amazing mix work by Laur here. That's kind of irrelevant to the chord progression stuff I want to talk about. So to start out with, we have mostly G minor, and that's kind of just where we're sitting for that first chunk of the song. Basically, everything happens there. We do like go between the E flat, the F, and then back up to the G minor. That's where like that climb happens during the first section. And for like the other section, the like more bouncy flute stuff, there I think is a D in there as well, but like mostly we're just sitting with that whole situation, you know? Like those are the chords that I want to focus on, mainly the G minor, because that's where the bulk of it happens. And what happens with a lot of electronic, as I've talked about many times before, they just sit on one note. So for this, it's mostly the G. And while I am fairly certain we do sit on G minor for like a good portion of it, it's almost like they're hanging on those notes and doing other things with them, while this kind of becomes the bass line for everything else. And that's just where we sit, you know? It is the tonic of the chord and the key here, so it makes sense to just sit there. But then we get to that evolution into the cinematic section, and that's a really cool progression too. We start introducing things like the B flat, and we have this build that it starts to make out of that. Like we've shifted up a little bit into the F, and we have this B flat, and it's like, okay, cool. So that whole build that I was really liking, I love that like super satisfying resolution that happens in a lot of cinematic music. Love that sort of a relationship. Also, a little bit of Zelda for you there. Just coincidentally, but at the same time, the chords that this hits is the B flat, then F, and then kind of C, but then we move up from the C here into this F sharp minor. And now it's like, oh, that's weird. That's different. We did have a little bit of that creeping in at the end of the first section, but it was more or less just that tension. But they really leaned into it here because now we are basically shifting the entire key. Like not fully, not entirely, but they're changing the focus of where the song was and where we're going. Because now that we have that, we ended up in this like, okay, cool, that's great. And then it lifts up, which is so weird because if you just take those, that's what happens on those individual horns that were going on there. And it's a lot easier to hear it when I just separate them out like that. But this transitions into basically focusing everything else around the F minor. And now we have this. And that's cool because we have this F minor relationship that now has to evolve into something else. So we have this F minor and we can go back to the E flat, for example. And it's like, well, we still have to go up to something, right? Like that's the relationship that we have here, but we can go up into that F sharp. And this is interesting too because it's not the F sharp minor anymore. It's like it brought us into F minor but then became its major. Very interesting how those decided to balance out. And again, that transition between the cinematic into this electronic section, and now we are sitting here on this F instead of the G from earlier. So that first one focusing on this and just kind of landing on that G and really focusing on that note and just making that the drone of the song, we've shifted down to this, and that's now our drone here on the F. And that's basically where the song ends too. Like we sit there in that, and that becomes that new kick and the bass that happens in there. And again, we do have the E flat, we do have the F sharp, and a few other options. We do go back to the G minor in there, I believe, and just in general, there's some movement happening between the chords. But that at its core is kind of what's happening here. We start in the G minor, and then we end up shifting through a really weird transition into an entirely different note that is now kind of our new tonic, and that's where we end the song. It's a very unique evolution, this song. It starts with electronic, it ends with electronic, but in between there's a cinematic, beautiful little interlude that changes everything. And there's no real reason it should at the same time. Like there's no exclusive reason why that cinematic section is what changes this song other than the note going from that C up to that F sharp, and that's where it creates that F sharp minor. It's just a weird decision to do that because usually you would just end and that would be the end of that beautiful cinematic phrase, just these chords. Beautiful, right? We have the C there, we're rooting ourselves up here, right between, we've got this E in here. It's just like, okay, perfect. You know, this would be a natural progression into anything else cinematic. We have that resolution, but it allows us to go anywhere because it roots us back on that C. And for that sort of a sound, that's exactly where you want to be. But they were like, no, fuck that. We're going up here. Why? Couldn't tell you. Honestly, I guess they just wanted to get a little bit fancy with it, you know? Just start messing around with it. Because you want to have that relationship. That's that two-note relationship I was talking about, how EDM does that a lot. They just stick with the two that are right next to each other. It's always like the sharp above or the flat below, and then you just stick on either a minor or a hole in between. There's always some sort of a relationship like that with how EDM works and how easy it is to transition between those notes. But why this song did this and decided to start with EDM, have this chunk in the middle, completely a different genre that changes everything, and then shifts it back into EDM in a completely different note and a completely different tonic, is so strange to me. I don't know what Laur was smoking during this. I want some of it, maybe. Like a very interesting, very, very interesting choice. I really wonder if there is like a deeper reason to doing that, like why that specifically was done, why that sort of resolution with the cinematic sound was chosen to be that interlude, but why? You know, like it leaves me with the big question of why that. It's a very unique, very cool way to do that. Very, very neat. But what the fuck were you doing, you know? Like what led him down the path of we're gonna start in the Middle Eastern sound, that kind of Egyptian sort of tone. We're gonna move into EDM, maybe a little, just a sprinkle, some like Northern European Celtic sort of music in there. Sure, why not? Get a little bit dancey with it. cinematic, you know, just Western cinematic all the way through, all the way out. No, nothing else in the way there. Back to EDM, and now we're in like a deeper house version of EDM too. Like, what the hell? I assume it was just to play around with the different genres, and that happened to be where that change happened. But it's still such a weird decision to just do that. Change is what changed this whole song, and why that decision was made. I am at an absolute loss, but Laur is going to do whatever the fuck Laur wants to. That's Laur's job, and that's Laur's prerogative. I have no way to tell what Laur was thinking, but I can only speculate, and I assume it was just because there is this middle ground that they wanted to hit. Halfway through the song is like a perfect split. Let's just make the transition there and play around somewhere else. Why they decided to change basically the key, it wasn't really a key change either. That's the weird part. Usually it would be a key change. You'd be like, oh, that's completely different. This didn't feel like it changed the key at all, because it's still within the key. But like, is it though? Very strange song, but also a fucking blast to listen to, just constantly going through these different genres and that fat ass beat. You can't go wrong with a fat ass beat. So that's about all I gotta say on this one. A wild track, an extremely strange discovery, breaking it down, but that's about all I gotta say. So thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to get to something else, by all means, drop in the comments below and I will do my best as always to get to those. Or if like Cat Straws did, you want to guarantee that I listen to something, you can always go to my Patreon, and if that tier is open, you can guarantee that I listen to whatever the hell you want. Doesn't matter who it's by, what it's from, if it's good or bad, none of that matters. That's why it's a guarantee. But if you don't want to do any of that, maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!